nerderotic.com.
We hardcore Bond fans crave seductive escapism, not a morality tale of hashtag MeToo and toxic masculinity. Madeline Grant. Occasionally, I like to bring you a good article. Mostly, they come from Bleeding Fool or Bounding in the Comics, but this one comes from the Telegraph, and it is about the first female 007. And I agree with every single word in it. And we have to show people that there are others outside the Fandom Menace, or maybe this person is in the Fandom Menace and we don't know it. But there's others out there who feel the same way we do. And when it comes to Bond, you really want to defer to the UK. And yes, this comes from the Telegraph, which I'm sure can lean to the right sometimes, maybe sometimes lean to the left. But I know for a fact the access media like comicbook.com, Screen Rant 909 lead hard left. So it's nice to show the other side once in a while, especially when it's so well written and it's an obvious Bond fan. Either she faked her way through it or she has serious Bond knowledge, and a well put together article that really echoes what everybody has been saying. This was more about taking something away than adding something. This was more of the movement marketing. Now, Midnight's Edge just did a video on Terminator Dark Fate on this very same subject. And Madeline, here in this article, calls it dark arts marketing. It's what I have been calling movement marketing. When there's absolutely no interest in your film or TV show, what you do is you go woke, you get the access media in line, and all of a sudden you have a bunch of free advertising. And some of the access media are starting to get resentful about that, and I'll show that towards the end of the video. But let's go to this brilliant article, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Madeline Grant is a member of the Fandom Menace, considering what she says later on in it. Eon Production should avoid torching too much of Ian Fleming's raw material. Well said, Madeline. In many James Bond films, the pre-credit sequence has very little bearing on the rest of the plot. Take Octopussy, where Bond deploys the smallest jet plane in the world, housed in a fake horse's nether regions, to destroy a Cuban airfield. Or Moonraker's mid-air tussle over a parachute, yet Casino Royale's intro depicts a truly formative moment. Shot in grainy, Hitchcockian black and white, Bond gains his 00 status by confronting and killing two enemies, a turncoat MI6 section chief and his contact, in particularly gruesome fashion. After Pierce Brosnan's final outing in the CGI'd monstrosity Die Another Day, Casino Royale's intro indicated what kind of Bond Daniel Craig might be: cold, calculating, and ruthless. As a lifelong Bond fan, my heart sank when I heard the latest news from the set of Shatterhand. Oh, I guess that's the name. That is news to me. The 25th installment in the series. One insider told the Daily Mail about a popcorn-dropping moment when it is revealed that Bond has retired and a female MI6 colleague, played by Lashana Lynch, has inherited this all-important codename. The source gushes over a pivotal scene at the start of the film where M says, "Come in, 007, and in walks Lashana, who is black, beautiful, and a woman. We learn that Bond must navigate the world of hashtag #MeToo, and that the film seems to position him as a Weinstein-like figure. Oh, great. That's what I go to Bond for. Bond, of course, is sexually attracted to the new female 007 and tries his usual seduction tricks, but is baffled when they don't work on a brilliant young black woman who's probably a scientist, basically rolls her eyes at him and has no interest in jumping into his bed. It's comical that they even think this is going to work, and it shows you how little the owners of certain franchises know about their own damn franchise, that they allow this to happen. And this has been happening in the James Bond comics for quite some time. They're incredibly woke. But she gets into the crux of the matter here, and this is a great point. The announcements suggest PR dark arts are at work to rescue a production that has suffered its share of setbacks. Directors and actors walking away, the producers drafting in script doctors, injuries and accidents on the set, and controversy over its title, with Bond having already left MI6. The assignment of 007 to a female agent will presumably mean her character is killed off at some point, enabling Bond to resume his role, or else will be in reboot territory yet again, and maybe they'll kill Bond. I mean, right now I expect anything at this point. But The stamp of identity politics is unmistakable. Let me tell you what's going to happen if Lashana Lynch's 007 dies in this film. The same people praising it will turn on it immediately. Now, what will happen if they move ahead with Lashana Lynch? The same people praising it will not watch it from here on out. They just want to have something change. They want to take something away. That's all they're happy with. They don't actually care about Bond. You hear it's about time. None of these people gave a crap about Bond, and they won't care in the future because the same thing happened with Doctor Who. There was a wow factor. People watched in the beginning, then they stopped watching, and now nobody cares because it's an unrecognizable show because Doctor Who did it when they were desperate, and now James Bond, the franchise, is in the same position and the same thing will happen. Why does this matter? Audiences don't go to Bond to be reminded of the perils of toxic masculinity. They go for escapism. Of course, Bond shouldn't remain frozen in time, but the series already shows how to update and critique his character without emasculating Bond or making him and the role obsolete. Think about when Judi Dench's M skewers Bond as a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, a relic of the Cold War, or how, long before the advent of #MeToo, Timothy Dalton's Bond took a far more respectful approach towards his love interests. Those are all great points, Madeline, but some may argue those were the beginnings of the problems with Bond. But I'm liking the cut of her jib. I like what she has to say. Yet, recent versions have featured Bond's inner torments so prominently that the writer's hand on the scales is painfully clear, and there are consequentially very few laughs. Where has the fun gone? Does anybody remember laughter? Who wants an introspective Bond? Not me. Many highlight the flaws of Roger Moore films, which I love. The gags and the silliness, the feeble attempts to make us believe that a near pensioner is executing these extraordinary stunts. But ultimately, they are far more fun and recognizable Bond than several of the recent outings. Now, she shows more great Bond knowledge, but Madeline is a member of the fandom menace. Listen to this. Eon Productions should be careful to avoid torching too much of Fleming's raw material. Recent YouGov polling found, unsurprisingly, that tinkering with the core elements of the Bond lineup or any other franchise, introducing a female Bond or a female Doctor, let's just say, gay Bond, non-British Bond, and so on, registers much less favorably with long-term fans than occasional viewers. Listen to this. The directions of the Star Wars series under Disney, and particularly the divisive Last Jedi, which sacrificed plot consistency for woke political messaging, should remind filmmakers of the risks of trying to appeal to the right-on commentariat rather than giving fans at least a little of what they want. Critics loved The Last Jedi. Guardian reviewers praised its feminist credentials, but these are not the people the series needs to impress. They are not the fans who turn out in droves, buy the merchandise, and pass on their love of Bond to the next generation. When it came to the next Star Wars feature Solo, millions voted with their feet and stayed home. I fear the same may happen to my beloved Bond if filmmakers continue to portray him as a problematic character to be pitied, not the flawed, but undeniably seductive, powerful, and enviable figure he is. So obviously, Madeline sees things the way we do, and that has to be praised, and especially when we see it in print or digital print, because it's so damn rare outside of Bounding into Comics and Bleeding Fool and Cosmic Book News. And again, I know what the Telegraph is all about, but still, I saw an article from the Telegraph from the other side of things today. But what really needs to be addressed more and more is the access media being used. And they like it, but the thing is, I don't think they're even getting the access that they hope for. And I think some are starting to see through this. Now, these companies are just saying jump, and the access media is saying how high, but they're not getting anything back. And eventually they're going to figure out, wait a minute, I'm not getting access. I'm not getting anything. Maybe the occasional shout out, the occasional retweet. Is that worth your dignity? Well, for some out there, for some blue check marks, it is. But I want to end this one with a paragraph from a Bounding into Comics article where a critic calls out the access media for just this. This comes from a great article in Bounding Into Comics. I will link it in the description about Richard Rushfield calling out other critics. We've come to this bizarre place where the boundaries between the roles of critic, political activist, fanboy, and box office reporter have completely dissolved. Everything has to play a role in some larger, greater good narrative, which is fine if critics want to see the world that way and offer criticism through the lens of, how does this help the movement? It's harder to justify if you're supposedly covering box office for the film industry and filtering your own business analysis through that lens, or that lens watered down via general media hoopla. In any event, last time I checked, these companies, even poor little Amazon, had relatively robust marketing departments. Since when is the survival of their films dependent upon dragooning the help of the last remaining underpaid journalists in America to service their cause? Well, I'm not so sure they're underpaid, but another quote goes along with that within that article from Agnes Poirier. Activism never makes for great art, nor does it make for great journalism. The feminist cause is far better served by artists, male or female, white or black, young or old, rather than by thought police. If movements such as #MeToo allow themselves to be co-opted by moralists, they risk losing credibility and they stifle creativity. Please like, share, and subscribe. Everybody have a great day, and may the free folk sing songs of your greatness.
Nerderotic.com. Please subscribe.